Hey everybody, it's Matt from RideHub here, and on this special Hot on Your Heels episode of Trail Physics, we're going to be looking at the two-stroke smoke rock here in Squamish. So for those of you that don't know, Hot on Your Heels is an all-women's mountain bike enduro race that happens in Squamish every year, and we usually see about 400 women make their way onto the trails. Now, all the volunteers for the event are men, and I had lived in Squamish for 2 weeks before my first Hot on Your Heels experience, and when I was voluntold to take part, I asked a simple question. I said, what do I need to bring? And the person who was organizing the area I was going to be working said, just wear as little clothing as possible. So it's a super fun event. It raises a ton of money for Go Girls, which is a part of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And Melissa, the organizer, asked me to come out here and look at the single biggest problem rock that exists on two-stroke smoke. Now, compared to some of the other videos we've made in this series, this rock doesn't look that bad, but it's actually pretty surprising when you roll up on it the first time, just how intimidating it can be. So now when we take a look from the entrance of the rock, it paints a little bit of a different picture. Can you see what's on the other side? So if you ride up here blind, you'll just glance and you see all the bushes here. So your eye naturally tells you that the trail is going to be fading away to the right. And then you do what most people do and you err a little bit to the left because you want to stay on the outside of the turn. As we get closer, you start seeing a bit of the problem. And unfortunately, the rider's usually already committed to this line and they end up having to go down it anyway. And it is absolutely this outside left line that causes all the problems. It's hard to tell from the video, but this is actually a 90-degree edge right here. So you can see all these huge scratch marks. This is pedals and cranks and chain rings. Anything on your bike is going to be smashing and hanging up on this. Doesn't matter how big your bike is, it will catch on this rock. If this doesn't happen to throw you off, then you get onto the exit. As soon as you keep coming down that left side, you end up with this giant boulder in the middle of your path. And it's quite big. So the most important thing about riding this rock is actually pre-riding the line and making sure you understand which way to go. Now, if you come up rider's right, what you'll actually see is this nice, smooth rock transitioning to dirt, which lines you up very well for your exit corner. The thing that scares people the most about this rock is that it is off camber to the right. So the last thing you want to be doing on this rock face is grabbing a whole bunch of brakes. If you do, your bike's going to want to slide to the right-hand side. The problem with your bike sliding to the right-hand side is you have this wonderful tree right here. The other thing a rider might tend to do is because they see this camber, they actually try to point their bike really far rider's right and ride down the more flat version of this rock. However, that line sets you up to run directly into this tree. And this section of dirt right here is super loose, so you're gonna have a really hard time bringing the bike under control. The other thing people don't seem to consider about this rock sometimes is that the entrance is slightly uphill. Because this uphill may slow you down, you may end up having to put in a pedal stroke. If you do throw a pedal stroke in at the wrong time, you're gonna get your pedal caught up on the edge and it's gonna be a bad day. So remember, the big thing about this rock is allowing the bike to roll down it. If you're focused too much on this rock, you won't be looking ahead, and there's a whole bunch of different obstacles here you might run into. So it's important to keep your eyes up and looking down trail. The handy dandy thing about this feature is it has this wonderful marker rock. You can see it's got this nice big edge on it, so it's very obvious as you roll up to the feature. So on our approach, we're going to track our front wheel just to the right of this marker rock, and as we come up to the edge, we're going to allow the front tire to crest over the edge of the rock, down the back side, and then transition onto the dirt. As you come down this rock, and don't kid yourself, it is steep. What you end up seeing are our two main obstacles. This big bouldery rock on the left again, and this tree. If you came down the rock and you were too far to the right, this tree ends up being your primary obstacle. And you can already see there's handlebar marks in it. People do hit this tree. It's not a fun day out. Same thing goes for this rock. This is a very large boulder edge. The last thing you want to do is catch your front wheel or your pedal on this. So make sure you are looking where you're going and you allow the bike to run down the middle of these two obstacles. One thing that might not be totally obvious is this tree stump that's right here. So make sure you execute your right turn at the right time. So why don't we go walk down the line just to make sure we know exactly what we're going to do on race day. Barreling down two-stroke, barreling down two-stroke. I just saw Gary McFarlane. He wasn't wearing a lot of clothes. I may be distracted, and all of a sudden I've got this blind rock. Oh geez, what do? Oh, look, it's my marker rock. So I'm going to start aiming towards it, allowing my momentum to get me up over this edge, tracking very close to this rock, looking down the other side, glide my bike down here, very, very light on the brakes until I get into that dirt. Then I'm going to slow myself down in a nice straight line. Then I'm going to execute my right turn. So that's it. That's the rock on two-stroke smoke. Thanks again for watching this special Hot on Your Heels edition of Trail Physics with RideHub. If you're signed up for the race, have an absolutely incredible time. It's an amazing day out. I'll be out there on course with the rest of the volunteers, so make sure you come by and say hello. Now it's time to put the phone down, put your clothes back on, or at least grab some sunscreen, close the computer, and go ride your bike.